Hey everyone, this is Paul, and you are listening to season 2, episode 16 of the Generation Latino podcast. Guys, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. For myself, I ate a lot of food. I went to go see the new Wicked movie. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the music, everything. It was just so good. I spent time with family and friends. I got to relax a little bit, focus on just kind of some things that I wanted to just focus on for myself. But I cannot believe that we only have 1 month left of this year. And that makes me excited and nervous all at the same time because although the year is about to wrap up, there's a lot of things that I'm just excited for. And I like to write down my goals and what I accomplish, what I want to work on more for next year. So I hope you get the chance to do that as well. Just really spend this last month focusing on not just what you did, but what you wanna do for the next coming year, and I think it's a great time to just regroup. The holidays are here, we're in full force, Thanksgiving just passed, and then Christmas is coming up and New Year's, but I'm really excited, and I think a lot of people out there get anxious with the new year coming. I think people get anxious with the holidays around because they gotta spend time with family. They have to spend time with maybe some people that they don't want to. And the topic for this really got brought up with a conversation I was having with one of my really good friends in Austin. And I was talking to him about something that happened with my family. And I was telling them about like the things that I said and that I was voicing to them and whatnot, specifically my mom, and he told me, he goes, "Man, I could never say that to my mom." And I said, "Why?" He said, We just don't. Like, you stay silent and you just take things to your grave." And then I told him, I said, "Why would you wanna do that?" He goes, "It's just what we do. We don't talk about our feelings. We don't talk about our emotions. If anything's bothering us in our family, we don't talk about it." And I thought to myself, "You know what? That would be a great topic for a podcast episode because so often people don't have conversations that they should be having. They brush stuff under the rug, they pretend it didn't happen. "Oh my god, yeah, oh, yep, nope, close your eyes, it didn't happen." This episode is gonna be on the conversations our parents never knew how to have, and it's gonna dive really deep onto why they didn't have the conversations we needed them to have, and how can we break that cycle? Because, like, as I was telling my friend, I said, "Don't you wanna break the cycle? Don't you wanna be the generation that is open to communication, that is open to wanting to talk about your feelings?" I've worked too hard in therapy and self-help for myself to not voice my opinion or my thoughts. It's not even about my opinion, just my thoughts, how I felt as a child growing up in a broken home, in a home of abuse, and yeah, and yes, I piss off my mom. Yes, I make her upset and angry. That's not my intent. My intent is to voice my thoughts and feelings. And in that process, if it upsets someone, that is on them. It is not on you. But what you shouldn't do is just suppress your emotions for the sake of the family dinner or the Thanksgiving brunch or the Christmas evening together. No, I'm going to continue to express my emotions and I hope that you are able to express how you feel and how other people make you feel. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. The conversations our parents never knew how to have. All right, guys. So when I talk about the conversations our parents never knew how to have, I'm talking about those hard hitting topics. I'm talking about, and I'll speak for myself. Again, I come from a broken home, a home of abuse. My father, my biological father, was not in my life. He never was in my life, and it never got talked about. We just never talked about it. My mom never brought it up. My father, no one ever brought it up. I was just supposed to live life as if nothing ever happened. and stay silent. And I don't think the intent was for me to stay silent. It was just like, we don't talk about it. Kind of like that song, We Don't Talk About Bruno from Disney's Encanto, very similar to that. And I want to talk about in this episode why. Why do our parents or those who raised us, why do they refuse to talk about hard hitting topics? Why do they refuse to really let their emotions, feelings shown? I first off want to talk about, since we are talking about conversations, I want to talk about unhad conversations and what does that actually mean when you say unhad conversations? It means that your feelings get swallowed. If you're feeling angry, upset, anxious, you don't bring it up. You just have to swallow that in. And it also means that we never get to ask questions, right? Oftentimes we talk about, oh, we just don't, we can't ask. I can't ask my parents that question. Why? Just because they brought you on this earth doesn't mean that your voice does not matter. As I have conversations with my mom and I bring up topics that make her uncomfortable or that she doesn't want to go to, and I understand that for her, it brings up a lot of pain or trauma. But as her child, I am given the right to ask why decisions were made that affected my life. So, the big thing that I've realized with my mom is that she didn't have the tools. My grandmother didn't have the tools. My grandmother, again, came here illegally from Mexico, speaking only Spanish, not able to read and write. So, how was she going to have the tools to be able to articulate how she's feeling? Why our parents didn't have these tools? The first one is, in my opinion, is that they were in survival focus mode. They were survival focus generations. When you come to this country illegally, you're bound to live on survival mode. You're bound to just worry about getting food for your kids, getting shelter, and that's it. You don't got time to worry about, oh, how is little Jimmy feeling today? How is little Lisa feeling today? You don't have time for that when you're in survival focus mode and you come from a survival focused generation. Another big one on why our parents didn't have these tools is because migration, trauma, scarcity mindsets. You don't have time to worry about tools when you have that much trauma, when you have that much of a mindset that's focused on survival. I think another one too, where at least for my parents, for my mom, was no news is good news type parenting. Like, we just didn't talk about abortion and gay rights, being progressive and being liberal. Like, we just didn't talk about it. And then it was when I was younger that I slowly started to question. And it was like, oh shit, I have a son who wants to know more than he should. They didn't have the emotional vocabulary. It never existed in the home. Not once was mental health brought up. Not once was anxiety brought up. We just didn't talk about it. So in my mind, in my 8-year-old brain, I'm like, man, I'm seeing abuse. I'm seeing scarcity. I'm seeing my mom struggle. I'm seeing all of this. And then I still have to be good in school. And then they wonder why I'm acting out. They wonder why I'm giving attitude. Like, no one spoke to me. And if you're listening out there too, and they're like wondering why a kid is giving attitude or being rude, I'm like, have you gone to the root of that kid? Have you gone to the parents and see how they're being raised? It wasn't in a vocabulary. The biggest one, and I say this with respect to single moms, broken homes, is the pressure of being strong, stoic, and uncomplaining, right? You're in this country, you're only first, second generation. You have to be strong and you have to be stoic. No one should know that you are falling. No one should know that you need help. Guys, I'm telling you now, that's bullshit. You should be able to tell someone, even if it's just your therapist or a counselor, "Hey, I'm not feeling good today. Hey, I feel like I don't wanna live anymore." You should be able to do that. Our parents didn't have those tools. They just had to keep going, and that whole "fuck your feelings" bullshit started. That whole "fuck what you feel, keep on moving, survive." I know for me, I don't want it to do that. I don't wanna live life that way. Our parents didn't have these tools, but the big thing is that them not having those tools really shaped us, and it silenced a lot of us, and this is how silence shaped us. We had to suppress a lot of the words that we wanted to say. We had to suppress our feelings. We have to suppress our own needs, and that's hard to do, and then you're trying to figure out, like, "How can I do better?" And I know for me, silence is death. I think being silent is detrimental to anyone's survival, and it's as simple as, "I'm hungry, I'm lonely, I'm sick, I'm not feeling okay, my brain's feeling off, these feelings I'm feeling are not okay." If we grew up seeing our parents never expressing themselves, how are we going to? And I've worked really hard in my self-help journey and in my therapy journey to really express what I'm feeling. And I'm telling you guys, I know it's made my mom extremely uncomfortable. It's made family members be like, "What the fuck?" But you have to practice it, guys. You have to practice it. And through therapy, I've learned that you can have new conversations, right? And new conversations that I'm learning to have are name your feelings. What is it that you're feeling? Are you upset? Are you mad? Are you angry? Are you depressed? Like, you have to be able to express what you're feeling and identify it. And another new thing is therapy. Normalize therapy. Normalize therapy. I always joke with my mom, like, man, you'd be a horrible client because a lot of our parents just don't want to see past their own vision. They think that their vision was right. Well, you're good, right? You didn't die, did you? You're surviving, aren't you? Yeah, yeah, I had food on the table, didn't I? Yes, and I respect that. I respect that, and I will always be mindful and appreciate that, but it doesn't end with just getting food on the table. It doesn't end with having a roof over my head. What is life if, like, you're feeling anxious and depressed and suicidal? And the biggest one for me is having the courage to ask uncomfortable questions. When I ask an uncomfortable question, it's not deliberate, it's to find out an answer. So if I ask my mom, "Why did you and my dad's relationship affect me?" I understand y'all didn't want to be together. I understand y'all hated each other. But why did that have to affect him being in my life? That's a very uncomfortable question. But I have the right to ask that because their decision making affected me as a kid. Just like you listening out there. I'm sure there are many people listening out there who have had to just not ask the question for the sake of not wanting to hurt one of their parents. It's okay to ask uncomfortable questions. And what I've been learning now is practicing tenderness without making it awkward. I can be mindful that it's going to make my mom uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be awkward. This whole idea of this podcast, again, is to close the gap between generations, between our parents' generation and us. How do we close that gap? Where do we start? I think with starting, it's being open minded. I think both people have to be open minded. Mom, dad, child, they have to be. For me, starting with curiosity instead of accusation is what's helpful. So when I'm having these conversations with my siblings, with my mom, I'm not accusing anybody of doing anything. I'm just truly curious, like a little kid who's curious about the sandbox or a toy box. That's how I'm approaching it. Also, too, is ask one simple emotional question at family gatherings. We were playing a game the other day at Thanksgiving, and it was basically getting to know people, like for families, and it was fun. It was lighthearted, but it was also hard hitting questions, and it was really fun. And I think my family really enjoyed it. And another one too is model healthy communication, even if you're the first to do it. I had to learn this one because when you model healthy communication, it trickles down. It makes you realize that at the end of the day, you're asking these questions, you're wanting to know, you're wanting to open up the palette of your parents' lack of communication. You're doing it for the better good for everyone else so that the generations before and after us can connect stronger. That's why I do it. I love my mom. I do. She's a hero of mine. She's probably the biggest hero of mine, but I can say that and also be like, "Hey, mom, we need to talk about this. This is making, you know, me question XYZ, and I think it's okay for you to do that as well." And as much as it pains me to see my mom not wanting to answer some questions or feeling uncomfortable, I feel like she's growing. And to me, that's all that really matters. And I really want to make sure that if you're listening to this podcast, that you take a risk and you challenge your parents. You challenge them in the most loving way. And I know for me, I've been in a healing journey for the past couple years, and it's more about wanting to close the gap. And I don't want to erase what's been done in the past. I just want to continue it in a new direction. Like I want to be able to be like, hey, my mom and dad, they couldn't express what they were feeling and they just suppressed emotions. I don't want to be that way. I want to be able to have healthy conversations. I honor my parents and I want to grow beyond their limits. I don't want to resent them for having them. And that's why I'm having this conversation today because I know there's so many Latinos out there who feel, again, just like my friend in Austin, who was like, we got to take things to our grave. We don't talk about our feelings. We can't talk about the death of a family. We can't talk about the dark things. And we don't talk about anything that's uncomfortable. For me, I don't want to live that way. And I know being in the holiday spirit, people just want everything to be perfect. And conversations don't always have to be perfect. Like, it doesn't have to be a perfect film. But if you're listening and you are anxious about the holiday season, or if you're anxious about being in rooms with other people, start slowly. Start slowly and also start with a good intention. My intent isn't to make my mom uncomfortable or feel awkward. It's not meant to make any of my siblings feel awkward, but it's the curiosity mindset. I'm trying to learn about myself as an individual and why I've made decisions that I've made. And the only way that I'm gonna get answers is to go back and ask questions. And I hope that you can do the same thing, but don't shy away from it. Lean into it. And remember, it's all for the sake of having better communication, better relationships, and to actively feel good and healthy. That's why I got into therapy. I got into therapy because I wanted to feel better. I didn't want resentment. I didn't want to be angry at my mom or my dad who was never in my life. I didn't want that, but I was feeling that way because I never expressed how I was feeling. I just bottled it up and just said, keep moving. You'll figure it out. You'll take it to your death. And when my friend brought that up to me, like, "Oh, we just take things to our grave," I don't wanna do that. I'm gonna continue to break the cycle, and I hope that you listening can also break the cycle for you. Remember, we're not here to blame our parents for anything. We're just here to understand why they did what they did so that we can move forward and break that cycle. But I hope you have a great day, guys, and I hope that you continue to push yourself. Again, I'm excited. It's the holiday season. Don't feel bad. Don't feel awkward. Thank you once again for listening and for supporting. And if you like this podcast, feel free to like it, subscribe. I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, iHeartRadio. I am everywhere podcasts are at. So thank you so much, guys. And you have a beautiful, wonderful day. I'll see you on the next episode.